All right, everybody, welcome back to Living Our American Dream. Matt here. Behind me you see the camper that I built and my Jeep. Today's video, we're gonna put the camper on the trailer and we're gonna take a test drive in the Jeep to make sure that the Jeep handles okay pulling this thing down the road. I haven't actually hauled it with the Jeep yet, and I don't anticipate any problems, but as I alluded to before, we're coming up on a spring break where my son's going to be going to Florida for spring training for baseball, and my wife and I and the other two kids, I think we're going to tag along, and we're going to take this rig, and we want to take the Jeep so that we can have the Jeep down in Florida. The weather should be great, and we're just hoping to make a good time out of it. So I'm going to show you guys the whole loading process again and come along for this test drive. We'll see how it handles. Before we hook this thing up to the Jeep, we're going to put on this cargo basket. So, perfect. Pulling this trailer around, when I bought the Jeep, I measured the height of the receiver to where the trailer needed to be in order to ride level. And I ended up going out and finding and buying a 5-inch drop hitch, which works out just about perfect for hauling my cargo trailer level. So I just keep that right here in the back of the Jeep. I'll throw this bad boy on here. We'll be ready to go. Okay, so this is what the rig looks like. It looks like the weight distribution of the trailer might have squatted the Jeep just a little bit, but not terrible. I think it should ride fine like that. All right, guys, let's give this thing a shot. Now I'll take a minute to tell you guys a little bit about my Jeep as we're going up here to do this test drive. I bought a Wrangler Sport because it doesn't have any frills, it doesn't have any fancy things on it. It's a stick shift, it's a manual crank down windows, manual locks. There's nothing fancy on this vehicle, and I wanted it that way. And I'll just give a little plug to those of you who prefer to drive your vehicle instead of your vehicle drive you. I know we live in an era where there's a lot of sensors and a lot of gadgets and a lot of cameras and a lot of things going on cars nowadays that the darn things seem to almost drive themselves, and that's definitely where we're headed. But call me old school. I like shifting my own gears. I like working on my own things, and when it comes to the simplicity of one of these vehicles, the more stuff you can eliminate that could go wrong, the better. Okay, so this test drive, what we're going to do is run a couple of country roads here, and then we're actually going to take this rig onto the expressway, and I want to see how it handles at speed on the expressway. So this trip is taking us to Florida, and we live in Michigan. If you follow this channel, you know we live in Michigan, and that's a long ways to drive, and I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to tow this trailer with a decent level of ease for that 18 to 20 hour drive. Expressway. We've got a little bit of wind in our face right now. I can already see we're not going to be able to maintain our speed in 5th gear. This is a 6-speed transmission, so we can maintain our speed in 4th gear. Now 4th gear at, let's get up to 70 miles per hour. Let's see, 4th gear at 70 miles per hour is 2,500 RPMs. The trailer seems to be pulling okay. It doesn't seem to be swirling all over the road. So that's one thing about the manual transmission in the sport model of this Wrangler. It had 345 gear ratio, whereas the Rubicon model or other models would have probably came with 410 standard. The 345s just, they struggle a little bit more with your towing. It gets pretty good gas mileage just driving on its own, but you know, it doesn't do real well with towing. I think it should be fine. We will just run it in a different gear and allow the engine to run at a higher RPM. It's not going to hurt anything. So we got off the expressway now, and we're still on a highway, but it's a 55 mile per hour highway. So first takes, definitely going to be running a lower gear at highway speeds, but I didn't have any problems with the trailer wanting to be squirrely or anything, so I think we're going to be okay. I'll probably take this on another test drive at some point in the near future, just to get a feel for how I'm going to be able to handle drive speeds and gearing and that kind of stuff, just to know what I'm getting into. And the reason that I'm doing this, I got to be clear with you guys, the reason that I'm doing this is it's a long drive from here to Florida, and I know if I put this trailer behind my half-ton pickup, we'll go all the way down there and we won't even know what's back there. We'll just show up and everything will be fine. And we may still do that, to be honest. But I've always thought it would be fun to drive this camper around to a warm weather destination and take the Jeep so that we could utilize what I bought the Jeep for. You know, here in Michigan, I definitely get about 6 months worth of good, if you want to call it, Jeep weather, where I can take the top off of this thing, and I mean, I'll leave the top off for weeks at a time sometimes in the summertime. But in March, which is when we're going, there's going to be snow on the ground here in Michigan still, and it would be kind of neat to extend our our Jeeping season, if you want to call it that, by another month or so. All right, so we're back from our, I guess, little mini road trip, and what did we learn? So first of all, let's see if anything fell out of place here. It doesn't look like it. So what did we learn on our little road trip? I guess the first thing we learned is there is no trouble with the Jeep pulling this thing down the road. It has plenty of power. It wasn't squirrely in any way. When we were going down that, it was probably about a 5-mile stretch of expressway. We had a headwind coming on, I guess, kind of from up and to the left of us, kind of a side headwind. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to use fifth gear or not. I figured pulling a trailer, when I pull my boat behind this Jeep, I usually only go up to fifth gear, regardless of what my speed is, just because when you get that little bit of a load back there, it doesn't like to maintain speed in sixth gear as good. So this camper, not only do I have a little bit of load behind the vehicle, but it also, let's see, it sticks up an additional foot. Plus, I'm kind of pulling the drag of the vent on the top and the two awnings, kind of pushing some air. So I had a little bit of extra wind resistance. So fourth gear, absolutely no problem, up to 70 miles per hour. I'm not as concerned about gas mileage going to Florida, just because, you know, we budget for our trips. We have enough money budgeted for fuel, food, lodging, all the things that we're going to do. So I'm not really concerned about trying to get the best fuel economy getting there and back. I'm more concerned with what we're going to do when we get there. Hopefully, if we take the Jeep and the weather's good, this top comes off of this Jeep super easy. 2 people can just lift it off there. We can sit it on the ground. The doors come off easy. The toolkit is included with the vehicle. We can literally strip this thing down in about 15 minutes. Alternatively, if we take our truck, we have a half-ton Ford F-150. That'll pull this thing, and you won't even know it's back there. So the truck has a lot more room for a long road trip. The Jeep has the capability to kind of go top and doors off. We'll make that decision. So at least we know we have both options now. I guess that about does it for this video. I think for the rest of today, maybe I'll do a little video editing. We got a nice day here in Michigan. This is February 27th, and the deer have started to shed their antlers. So I think I'm going to take a walk out on the property and hit some of the feeding areas where I know the deer like to frequent and see if I can find some antlers on the ground. So I appreciate you watching this video, and we will see you on the next one.